It began on a night when silence should have ruled. Along Burkina Faso's southeastern border, the clock had slipped past midnight. Villagers slept, animals stirred faintly in the grass, and the air was calm. But then came a strange vibration, a mechanical hum never before heard in that sky. Out of the black horizon, glowing silhouettes emerged. Drones, unmanned, unforgiving. They circled slowly like metallic hawks, their red lights blinking, their sensors sweeping the ground below. In minutes, the quiet was shattered. A convoy appeared, headlights dim, its mission unknown, its cargo hidden from the public eye. Some whispered later it carried weapons. Others said it was money. A few suspected sabotage equipment meant for targets inside Burkina Faso. Whatever the truth, the drones struck with precision. Explosions cracked open the night. Fire lit up the border road. By dawn, there was no convoy, no secrets left intact. Only twisted steel scattered like bones and black smoke curling into the rising sun. Headlines spread across the world before breakfast. Drone strike in Burkina Faso. But the strike itself was not the true story. The real shock lay in the questions that flooded after. Who gave the order? Was this a sovereign act of defense? A secret warning to outsiders? Or a sign that Africa had decided to play by rules of its own making? For decades, drones were the toys of giants. America, France, Israel, nations with billion-dollar defense budgets. Africa, we were told, was the battlefield, not the innovator. But on this night, one of Africa's so-called small states had forced Washington, Paris, and London to pause. This was not merely an attack, it was a declaration, a signal that the monopoly of military technology was cracking, that sovereignty here would be defended not with press releases, but with fire in the sky. The silence that followed the strike lasted only hours. Then came the confirmation. No denial, no cover story. President Ibrahim Traoré's office admitted it openly. Yes, the drones had been launched. Yes, the order came from the highest level. No accident, no rogue commander. It was deliberate and it was calculated. For the first time in Burkina Faso's modern history, the world had to acknowledge an African leader who admitted to authorizing a drone strike. And the drones? They weren't ordinary models. Intelligence reports identified them as North Korean prototypes, modified with Russian navigation systems, and connected through AES, the Africa-wide security network now binding Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. In short, this wasn't just hardware. It was proof of alliance, a signal that Africa, long treated as the proving ground for other people's weapons, was now integrating, innovating, and deploying its own. Yet the wreckage told a deeper story. Investigators combed through the convoy's remains and found fragments of American-made rifles, French encrypted radios, English-printed maps charting resource corridors, Nigerian military ID tags. The puzzle pieces point in every direction at once. West African operatives, Western weapons, foreign sponsors. Shell companies in London, Paris, and Abu Dhabi had moved over $75 million into the logistics of the operation in just 6 months. Documents mentioned two cryptic names, Falcon Hand and DC Handler. No one could confirm what they meant, but diplomats whispered about covert networks with tentacles reaching far beyond Africa. For the people of Burkina Faso, the strike was both relief and alarm. Relief because their president had shown strength. Alarm because the wreckage proved what many feared. Outsiders were conspiring to destabilize their nation. In Western capitals, reactions were cold. Some called Traoré reckless. Others called him strategic. Energy investors warned, if these strikes continued, billions in contracts across the Sahel might vanish overnight. But then came the twist. Intelligence intercepts revealed an operation called Broken Spine. The target, Burkina Faso's $1.3 billion Koudougou oil refinery, symbol of independence built to break the chain of fuel dependency. Within 72 hours, it was to be sabotaged. The drones had not struck randomly. They had destroyed the convoy that carried the explosives meant for Koudougou. In other words, this was preemptive defense, a shield, not a provocation. Protecting the refinery meant protecting $400 million in future revenue. money earmarked for schools, hospitals, and infrastructure. To lose it would mean decades of dependency. To strike was to gamble on sovereignty. The questions piled up. Who bankrolled Broken Spine? Who trained the mercenaries? And who was the shadowy DC handler, the name coded into every intercepted message? Analysts traced communications back to servers in Virginia, home of U.S. intelligence. No admission came, but suspicion grew. Western weapons, Nigerian operatives, shell companies in Europe and the Gulf. The fingerprints of manipulation were everywhere. The drones themselves shocked the military establishment. The NA-7, a platform secretly developed with help from North Korea and Russia. A flight range of 800 kilometers, thermal missiles, AI-guided navigation, encrypted through AES. It struck its target in 12 minutes, without civilian casualties. Western observers muttered in disbelief. The United States and France had never demonstrated such clean precision in the Sahel. Burkina Faso had done it in one night. Defense analysts gave it a nickname, the clean blade of Ouagadougou, and the revelations kept coming. The convoy's mercenaries were not freelancers. They were ex-Nigerian special forces, once trained at Western-funded bases, soldiers recycled into covert warfare. The symbolism was impossible to miss. Africa's destabilization was not only imported from abroad, it was bred inside its own armies, molded under foreign tutelage, then turned back on its neighbors. For ordinary Africans, the details mattered less than the meaning. Traoré had shown the world that sovereignty could be defended with more than words. He had shown that Africa could innovate, retaliate, and expose the hidden hands manipulating its future. Crowds flooded Ouagadougou, Bamako, and Niamey, chanting slogans, waving flags, wearing shirts that read, "Don't mess with sovereignty." Graffiti appeared overnight, drones as guardians, not invaders. Hashtags like #SahelRising trended globally. A remix of Traoré's speech became an anthem on TikTok. Pride spread faster than fear. At the regional level, something historic was born. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger announced Operation Iron Shield, a joint command center, shared satellite feeds, unified air patrols, a network called AES-Net to detect threats before they arrived. Their statement was short, but its weight was heavy. An attack on one is an attack on all. For the first time, Africa was building not just defense, but dignity on its own terms. Western analysts grew uneasy. If Iron Shield spread, billions in easy resource profits could be lost. France quietly pulled back outposts. Washington warned of instability. But across African streets, the message was different. For the first time in living memory, sovereignty felt real, not rhetorical. And Traoré's doctrine sharpened the line. No more secret foreign forces, no more unregistered bases, no more shadows shaping Africa's destiny. His words rang out. Fear is for those who borrow power. We built ours. This was more than a drone strike. It was a turning point, a declaration of mindset, a red line. No sovereignty, no future. And now the world must decide, will it adapt to an Africa that fights with its own hands, or will it try and fail to force the old chains back in place?